Will the Celtics finish in a playoff spot? Will they be in the play-in tournament? We don't really know quite yet. It's not even training camp, but people are already starting to predict things. Let's dive right into it. I'm your boy, Adam Taylor. This is my co-host, compadre, partner in crime, Mr. Billy Calabrese. What's poppin', Billy?
What's up, everybody?
So we're talking today because Mark Stein, and I love Mark Stein's newsletter. If you don't subscribe to his Substack, go check it out. Has predicted the Celtics to finish ninth. And I think this was more of like a community thing as well. It was a vote-based system where he asked his subscribers to vote. So it's not exactly that Stein is the one who's predicting this, but the people that subscribe, it was kind of like a vote system where the Celtics finished ninth in Eastern Conference voting with 778 votes. One ahead of the Indiana Pacers, one behind the Miami Heat. That would put them directly in the play-in tournament. That same voting system had Cleveland at 1, New York at 2, Orlando at 3, Atlanta at 4. I feel like I have to put that in there because I find that anyone thinking a Trae Young-led team is going to do well is hilarious. Billy, where you stand on this, man? Celtics at 9, play-in tournament, could be bounced before they even get to the first round, depending on who their opponents are. Based on this, their opponents would be who? Philly?
We would play we'd play the Pacers first,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then the
winner.
Philly.
Yeah, Philly winner, Heat winner, which that just already sounds like a
Philly.
war.
That's Philly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So if anyone wonders why I sound a little bit weird today, I've literally been awake about 20 minutes. I jumped straight on to record this podcast. Billy, where you stand with this, man? Celtics at 9. How you feeling?
I was more in the 11 or 12 range, so I thought this was a little bit optimistic. So they must be expecting a really nice season from Jaylen Brown, Simon's contributing, Derek White being awesome. Because honestly, I don't see the argument that we're that much better than the Pacers or the Raptors, and they essentially have us as tied. It's basically a virtual tie. It's one vote with the Heat. It is funny because this is the readers poll, so that's why it's this little pointing vote system. Stein's actual himself, he actually posted one himself as well, and he had the Celtics 10th and the Pacers 9th, but essentially the same kind of rankings. The only difference really is, man, the readers are really down on the Bucks. Like Stein had the Bucks like 3 or 4. They have the Bucks down to 6. They really don't believe in Giannis.
I don't think it's that they don't believe in Giannis. They just don't believe in the supporting cast that Giannis has got. Like, it was going to be tough for them the minute Dame went down with that ACL injury anyway. To then wave and stretch him and bring in Miles Turner, that's going to be interesting to see how that works. But now you don't have any elite point guard play. And if you go back to when the Bucks were close to winning the championship, the one thing they really needed was somebody who could play like a connector role as a guard that could provide some perimeter defense, create some offense off the bounce. And that's why Drew Holiday was seen as that missing piece for them. He came in and tied it all together. So to lose Dame, they've definitely got better in the front court, but their backcourt's going to be quite tough. As for the Celtics, I think that for me, having them above the Pacers is fine, but I think the Pacers have had nowhere near the same amount of talent drain that Boston has had. And so I actually expect them to be more of a threat than what Boston is. Toronto is all about internal development right now. If Scotty Barnes takes a jump, if RJ Barrett takes a jump, it depends on how Brandon Ingram really fits there. Brandon Ingram just seems to be one of these guys that doesn't seem to raise your floor or your ceiling, which is quite frustrating. Chicago could be better as well. Again, internal development there. There's a chance that Boston could, as you said, finish 11-12, and that'll be rough. It'll be a tough pill to swallow. But at the same time, if they finish outside the postseason, they get a lottery pick, everything starts to look a little bit rosy that way. The one I've got the most surprises is that the readers have got the Hawks over the Pistons. So I actually think Detroit are going to be one of the better. If they can re-sign Malik Beasley, especially, like if Beasley ends up back in Detroit with the way Cade was playing last year, and I said this at the start of last season, like Detroit came in with a blueprint on how to unlock Cade, and that was to put more shooting around him, give him more space, and it worked. If they can play and improve on what we saw last year, they should be a better team than Atlanta. I trust Cade way more than I trust Trae.
Everybody's really high on Atlanta because they had probably one of the best off seasons, and it's the Porzingis factor. If he's good, they're going to be really freaking good because they already have really nice bigs. They got the guard play. They got the guy that could set everybody up in Trae Young. I think that's like a regular season overachieving type of team.
Yeah, I think Quinn Snyder's a great coach. I'm never a big Trae Young guy. I think that banking on Porzingis being good and he's great, but what you really need to be asking is he going to be healthy? Celtics fans know all too well he'll be healthy for stretches, but when you need him the most, he can disappear because he's hurt or he's sick. They did have a great offseason, but I am higher on Detroit. I am higher on no, just Detroit actually. Yeah. Okay. So I'd just swap them two around and I'd be fine. The Sixers are a weird one for me. So they're coming into the season, and if you look at what they went through during the summer, right? Like Joel Embiid done a interview about a month ago now. He still wasn't even back on the court, getting basketball activities back. There's been no reports to say he's working out again. Paul George underwent surgery because he got hurt during a workout. It's like your two best players are perennially injured, and there's no guarantee they're going to be ready anywhere near the start of the season. You've drafted another guard. Now there's a logjam at the guard position. Tyrese Maxey, BJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain. You've got to find minutes for those three. You didn't resolve any of your front court issues. Like the front court was a big issue last year. You didn't resolve any, but then you lost your best front court contributor in Gershon Yabusele, who joined New York. I'm quite low on the Sixers just because I think their ceiling is a contender, but their floor is where they were last year. And I think like they're closer to being back at their floor than they are at their ceiling because Embiid and George still show no signs of being able to stay healthy. I think a rebuild's going to be coming for them quite soon.
Yeah, I think they're in the same boat as us. Like, honestly, I think we're one injury away from being in the really, tough conversation. Like, Jaylen Brown doesn't usually play 60, 65 games a season. He's had a few where he's had a few where he hasn't. So it's really going to be about him staying healthy because if he goes down or if he even is not playing back to backs or if he's just kind of taking games off here or there, I don't see how we can even compete with some of these other teams towards the higher part of the East.
I don't think they're going to be competing with a higher part of the East. I think this is the where it gets really tough, right? The Celtics rotation in like the backcourt especially is contending level backcourt. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard. That's fine. They're going to be able to put up buckets. Derek White was a top 10 defensive player of the year candidate 2 out of the last 3 years. You're going to be okay there. Jaylen Brown can take his defense to another gear, point of attack defense especially. The problem is, as we spoke about ad nauseum at this point, that front court is nowhere near ready to even be sniffing around a playoff spot. If you're building your entire front court on Luka Garza, Chris Boucher, and Neemias Queta, it's not gonna go well for you. It's just not, unfortunately. The worst part is the power forward spot still seems a bit iffy. Sam Hauser's going to be asked to play a role that's bigger than what he's used to. I think he's going to be okay though, like one of the better shooters in the league. I just really struggle when people are like the Celtics are still contenders because I'm like, no, they're not because the front court sucks. And I'm sorry if people don't like me saying that, but you tell me if you think Cater is going to be the guy to lead you to the postseason, I've got some bad news for you. If you think that Gaza is going to just break out and be this Kristaps Porzingis-esque type big, I've got some bad news for you. It's going to take time. He's not that guy. He'll be good and he'll be a valuable offensive threat. Defense is terrible. I'm actually most excited about Josh Minott. I think Josh Minott's going to be good. I think I've been quite low on Jordan Walsh all summer. I think he could find a role. I think he's in a prove it season now. Like you either figure it out or you don't. At this point, this is going to be one of those seasons. This is more about development. If you're expecting this team to be anywhere near the top 5 in the East, it's not going to go that way at all. And if it does, it's because Joe Mazzulla had got this team overachieving. But just on paper, that front court sucks.
No, I mean, if you look at this list of 15 teams, you cannot tell me one team that has a better front court, that the Celtics have a better front court than. You just can't. If health permitting, every single team in the East has a better front court than us. That's where we're at right now. It's unproven. Now, maybe these guys can exceed expectations, but if what it is right now, it is by far the worst.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like you said, it could prove. We've seen the Celtics and we've seen unexpected teams overachieve, and it's just not been that way. And it's been that way sometimes where you're like, oh, dude, backcourt or this front court or the wing depth is just trash. And then as the season goes on, you're like, oh shit, actually, no, they're quite good. I, there's a world where that happens. I just think expecting Cater to be the version of himself he was in Europe against EuroLeague guys and against Eurobasket tournament, to be that guy in Boston when it's a completely different role, it's a completely different level of athlete on a night to night basis, I'm not sold. Expecting guys that struggled for minutes last year, granted, because they were in tough spots, to then have to play big roles and earn wins to get you into that top 5, top 6 of the East, I'm not sold there either. So I do understand why the voters have the Celtics at 9. I would have been a little bit harsher and put them at 10. I would have had Indiana above them. I'd also wouldn't be upset with you if you had them at 11. There's a chance that this team really struggles to make the play-in. I think the play-in is the absolute ceiling in terms of seeding.
And even being able to survive the play-in and make the playoffs just seems like a fool's errand right now. I just don't see how they can pull that off with this roster, unless it is like a Philly team that's just decimated by injuries with Embiid and maybe even Maxey out, or if they get like a Heat matchup and who knows, Hero always gets hurt. Even so, I kind of like the Heat's roster. I like their offseason, even though it wasn't nothing like fireworks. It was an improvement on what they had.
Yeah, Norman Powell was a big pickup. It directly replaced what they lost with Duncan Robinson, but with some after dribble work as well. I think Kasparas Jakusionis is an exciting kind of addition in terms of the upside he has as a playmaker. If he can improve his decision making, the upsides he has as just like an offensive hub long term is going to be great. They missed out on a star and they figured out a way to get better with some role players. They also didn't take on any like long-term cap. So they're still going to be in a position to kind of reset their books in a year or two and be able to really rebuild. I think as well, you can never rule out a Spoelstra team ever, but it's just one of those things. I like what they're doing there. They're not retooling, but they're adding some really interesting young guys like Nikola Jovic is there, Jakusionis is there. There was another one that I've completely Jaime Jaquez Jr. is there. They've got some good young pieces that they can actually plug in and develop over time. So no, I'm all for it. I think they're doing really well. I don't expect them to be a big threat. I mean, losing Jimmy, they never replaced that star level scoring power. It is what it is. But in terms of just overall talent, they're a better team than no, the Raptors. They're a better team than the Bulls. They're a better team than the Hornets, the Wizards, the Nets. Are they a better team than the Celtics? That's the question. And like Kalal Ware's another young guy there that's going to be really interesting. He's going to have a field day, absolute field day when he faces the Celtics front court. He's just so explosive. Like they're really going to struggle. I think Nemi will get in foul trouble quite early against Kalal.
Well, that's my thing is like, I think defense can get you through the season, even if you don't have a lot of talent. If you play really good defense and you get stopped and you can muck up the game, I mean, that's what the Heat are for. Like, that's what the Heat are all about. They were actually another poll. What was it, yesterday or the day before, with the dirtiest teams in the NBA, and the Heat were by far the most dirty because that's just the way they play. It's grimy.
Play tough. I mean, there's a difference between dirty and tough, man. People just don't like it because when you play tough, people get hurt. That's just the way it goes.
And I think that wins games especially in a weak Eastern Conference. I think you could squeak by and get to 40 wins like that. I don't think you can squeak by and get to wins with a 29th or 30th ranked defense. And that's what we're going to have with no bigs.
Yeah, I mean, it's also depending on the system that the Celtics run. And I've been banging this drum for a while. If they try and play the way they've tried to play the last few years, it's curtains. Curtains all the way. Joe's going to need to make some adjustments. It's going to need to be a different type of offense and a different type of defense. Like, granted, you're still going to have a big and drop. Granted, your big's going to still come up and play up to touch or at the level of the screen. What you don't want is you don't want to leave your big and drop on an island. You need to have guys really operating on deep, like sinking in and pinching early. You're going to want to funnel dudes. You're going to want to control where they go, like really dictate the angle and dictate the area that they live in. That's hard to do. It's really hard to do. And you need some smart and switched on defensive dudes to do that. And I just don't think the front court has that. I think that the perimeter defense is going to be good. But as you were saying, if they can't put together a defense that ranks 15th or above, it's going to be a long season. If they rank 20 or below, it's going to be a rough season. And with the changes in offense as well that should have to come, it's going to be really hard to see this team get to a 40-win season. I don't think it's impossible. I think that they have the offensive firepower to do it, but it's definitely going to be like it's going to have to be a matador offense, and it's a matador approach. We're just going to outscore you every game because that's going to be the only way.
See, that's my problem with this theory that we're going to have this crazy offense. We're just going to run fast breaks. We're going to run teams off the floor. The Pacers did this the last couple years where they just basically didn't play defense. And then they just, those scores were in like the 140s and the 150s. The thing is, though, the Pacers had rebounding. We don't have rebounding. How are we going to run without being able to rebound?
Rebounding is, and I wrote about this on the newsletter recently, well, last season. The rebounding is so important to just being able to dictate the tempo of a game. And I think that people see it as, oh, you end an offensive possession with a rebound. And that's true. But then you also control how quickly the ball moves back up the other side of the floor. And when you do that consistently, you up the tempo of the game. You up the pace of every possession. And that's when you start taking control of the game and implementing your system. I don't see, I think Nimi's going to have a really good year on the boards. I think Jaylen Brown will have a solid year on the boards. I expect him to be a rip and run dude this year. Like rebound, get out, or someone rebounds, gets you on the outlet and you're out running. But you're right. The lack of rebounding talent is going to be tough. Again, I think this is an area where somebody like Jordan Walsh is going to have to step up. Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Scheinman is actually a sneaky good rebounder. I'm expecting him. Out of the group of Walsh, Scheinman, Hugo Gonzalez, and Baylor, I'm expecting Baylor to be the guy to get the most minutes because he's so well-rounded as a player, as a scorer, a playmaker, a rebounding guy. I think he's going to have a good year on the glass. But there's no elite board getter. Like Jason Tatum was a solid board getter. He was next to Kristaps Porzingis and or Hal Horford and or Luke Cornett. There was always size to get boards. That's not there now. And like you said, how are you going to get up the floor to push the pace if you're not grabbing rebounds?
It just terrifies me. That's what keeps me up because, I actually love the idea of a scoring punch of Simons and Brown. I think that's fun. I think that's spicy. I think that's actually a lot of different looks that defenses are going to really struggle with because they're both so unique. And then you throw them with like Derek White's or a Pritchard or whoever else is in. That's a really high-powered offense. But it's not going to matter if we're in the half court every time and they're just going to trap Jaylen. They're going to play off whoever the bigs are because they're not threats. And it's going to be, lockdown city.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But I think there is going to be some games where we're like, you know what? This team's legit. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be some games where we come away like, yo, this team's going to surprise some people. Then there's going to be other games like, nah, do you know what? We were right all along. It's kind of like it's a playing team at best. They're going to have to figure some stuff out. And then there's going to be some games where it comes out in the middle. You're like, do you know what? They're not going to set the world alight, but maybe they can squeak into the playoffs. Maybe it's just going to be a roller coaster like that. I don't think we're going to get a real good pulse for this team early because it's going to be so inconsistent. And that's fine. That makes it fun, to be quite honest with you. I'm okay with that. But because of that, I can understand why the Steiner readers have set this over at set the Celtics at 9. I was like you. I was kind of coming in at 10 or 11.
That's where I'm pretty much settled in. And that's between, let's probably say 34 and 38 wins.
Yeah. And I will say this, I'm gonna end it with this. Like anyone that's watching, if you've made it this far, well done. Your attention span is elite. But truth, jokes aside, let us know. Let us know where you think they're going to finish. Do you expect them to make the postseason, the play-in? Do you expect them to miss the playoffs altogether and get a lottery pick? What's the chance that the Celtics decide to shut things down halfway through the season if it's not going well? There's a lot of questions to ask here, but with that, I'm going to open up the floor to everybody that's watched, everybody that's still around. Billy, is there anything you want to say before we bounce?
Yeah, we got to get, we have a really cool hoop head community at the Celtics Chronicle Facebook group. Come down, check it out, join it, talk to us. We're there every day. You'll see us. You ask us anything. Heck, your question will probably get on the next video if you ask a good one. So hit us up.
And with that, everyone, I'm going to leave you all to it. Peace.